taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? So much so that you don't want to be.
Personal story segment tonight, the Black Lives Matter movement.
You say breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. When I say black lives, you say matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter.
It's almost every day you see it in the headlines. Police brutality, racial prejudice, hate crimes, racial injustice. It's no secret that echoes of an era of systemic oppression linger to this day. But seemingly out of nowhere, a movement to combat racial inequality began to gain traction with a single statement at its core.
Emotions are running high across parts of the U.S. tonight after the controversial acquittal of George Zimmerman.
In 2013, the murder of Trayvon Martin, a 17-year-old from Miami, Florida, and the acquittal of his killer, George Zimmerman, had millions of Americans across the country in disbelief. It was in this period of grief, uncertainty, and disbelief that the hashtag Black Lives Matter began to take hold. Patrisse Cullors, Alicia Garza, and Opal Tometi formed the Black Lives Matter Global Network, an internal organization consisting of various chapters dedicated to finally confronting institutional and systemic racism. Today, the BLM movement marches onward, appearing everywhere in places like social media, merchandise, and the nation's capital. The fight against racism and discrimination has almost become synonymous with the famous hashtag, raising millions of dollars for their movement, inspiring a generation of the world's youth to speak out against actions of hate. The Black Lives Matter movement is reaching every corner of the globe and is receiving the support of mega corporations like Amazon and Nike. We could expect to see major improvements in predominantly black neighborhoods and cities, right? We visited Trenton, New Jersey to see how the Black Lives Matter movement affected their community. African Americans make up almost 50% of Trenton's population, making it one of the most predominantly black cities in the United States. How are racism and the Black Lives Matter movement viewed here?
All lives matter. Not just black lives, all lives matter.
Absolutely.
That shit don't even make sense. But you talking about Black Lives Matter, and all they do is kill black people. So Black Lives Matter, all lives matter. I don't want to hear that, because that shit get me upset. All lives matter.
So is there more people that think like that around here, or what? How do you think like it's
I think that's just some shit to sell some shit or something like that. They really don't care. All lives matter.
Do you think it's just like a trend?
Yeah.
Institutional racism cannot be changed.
You don't think it'll ever be changed?
It's institutional, essential. It has already been set. It doesn't matter. This is the thing. Adaptation. It adapts to times. Right now, if you go see Kenan and they find you guilty, that's death. You're not working no more. You can't get a job. Psychologically, you're done. That's the worst thing you can take from a man when he can't earn a living. You understand? That's how I call it. It's psychological racism. The kind of thing we're doing right now is even advanced than the early day of slavery. It was physical. Back then, it was physical. They put chain on your neck, and if they hold you, break you now, it's psychological. It's even more dangerous as a black or brown person right now. Because you know what? It's mental. As I just said, a Kenan, a 25-cent Kenan, can derail you for the rest of your life. Can you imagine that? So that's what I'm trying to say. Institutional racism, systematic racism will never stop being evolved. This country will never be the same. No, Americans, we shouldn't fool ourselves. America will never be the same. With the pandemic and everything else, yeah, he did. Now we're more segregated than Jim Crow.
Let's widen the scope a bit. This chart, presented by the Monarch Housing Associates, displays the percentage of the homeless population in Mercer County, New Jersey. Persons identifying as Black or African American are overrepresented in the population experiencing homelessness. while 19.7% of the general population. Persons identifying as Black or African American are 36.2% of the population in poverty and 57% of the population experiencing homelessness.
Here, you live around here?
I'm homeless right now, but listen, I'm trying to make it. It don't weigh me down. I still keep my head above.
Not only that, but Trenton ranks among the highest in crime per square mile in New Jersey.
7 people were shot in Trenton. Yesterday, 1 was killed.
Trenton so far has 20 murders this year. It's on pace to have as many as it had last year.
If you want to continue to wage war on the streets of Trenton, we will come at you with everything that we have got.
African Americans face the highest percent of homelessness, crime, and police brutality in the United States. Can BLM help change this narrative? According to CBS News, Black Lives Matter has raised more than $90 million in 2020, with an average donation of around $30. This money was then dispersed to its many chapters in an effort to uplift their respective community. The foundation has claimed to spend around $8.4 million in operating costs and has committed 23% of its total assets, leaving BLM with a fiscal balance of around $60 million. They've also been reported to have given $21.7 million to over 30 of their chapters. So, where's the rest of the money?
After lots of internal criticism, the Black Lives Matter organization recently decided to give $3 million to members of the Black community who are financially crippled by the pandemic. There are people who are saying that, hey, BLM has taken in more than $90 million in donations. They should be doing more for local chapters, also for the community.
BLM is no stranger to financial controversies, such as earlier this year. Members of their own chapters turned from asking the organization for assistance to flat-out accusations, ending in statements released from BLM. We primarily act as a power-building organization, not a social service organization.
This is calling for accountability and transparency because that is part of liberation work. We want to have a cohesive flow amongst all of us, and we don't want anyone excluded.
Many people have begun to point their fingers at the Black Lives Matter global network. This raises the question, is corporate activism a good thing? This is Dr. Boyce Watkins. Dr. Watkins is an author, economist, and political analyst. Dr. Watkins appears on numerous media outlets such as CNN, Good Morning America, NPR, and Fox News.
Who gives the money is really important. For example, if you receive your money from McDonald's, chances are you're working for McDonald's. If you receive your money from Walmart, chances are you're going to pursue a Walmart agenda. The thing I know about money is that money is power, and when people give you money, they usually want something in return. So I'd be curious to know who gave the money and what happened to the money. And then also, I think it's just really important to understand that financial transparency is really important when you're raising money for a social justice issue. It doesn't mean you can't pay yourself a salary. Doesn't mean that every penny has to go exactly where certain people want it to go. It just means that letting people know what you're doing with that money, and when you're raising money on behalf of Black people, then Black people should be the first beneficiaries to see the benefits of that money.
11 BLM chapters from around the United States signed a statement regarding Patrisse Cullors and the Black Lives Matter Global Network. Their statement reads, "In the spirit of transparency, accountability, and responsibility to our community, we believe public accountability has become necessary. As a contribution to our collective liberation, we must make clear Patrisse Cullors, as the sole board member of BLMGN, became executive director against the will of most chapters and without their knowledge. In our experience, chapter organizers have been consistently prevented from establishing financial transparency, collective decision-making, or collaboration on political analysis and vision within BLMGN. For years, there has been an inquiry regarding the financial operations of BLMGN and no acceptable processes of either public or internal transparency about the unknown millions of dollars donated to BLMGN, which has certainly increased during this time of pandemic and rebellion. To the best of our knowledge, most chapters have received little to no financial support from BLMGN since the launch in 2013. The statement also includes a recommendation that supporters donate directly to BLM chapters, as opposed to the Black Lives Matter Global Network. This statement was signed by BLM chapters from Philadelphia, New Jersey, Indianapolis, DC, Chicago, Oklahoma City, San Diego, Boston, Hudson Valley, Denver, and Vancouver.
Black Lives Matter has raised $90 million. They admit this. They have $90 million in the bank. Now, if I had 10% of that and took it up to that neighborhood, all the problems wouldn't be solved, but we'd have a whole lot less.
Politics aside, one thing is clear. Black Lives Matter has the potential to help predominantly black neighborhoods and cities across the United States. The Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation needs more transparency with the public, law enforcement, and itself. Change is coming, but only if we get there together.
It's institutionalized, right? This is not going away. What do you think you could tell the next generation of people who are underprivileged? What would you tell them if you could be alive in 100 years?
What I tell them? Stick to your plan. Don't disobey people. Don't hurt people. Just be humble. And God will bless you. I can't tell you how to live your life or how to walk that path. Just be humble. And God will bless you. I don't know. I'm trying to tell you, I'm trying to figure out where I went wrong at. So I can't even tell you. You get what I'm saying? I'm trying to figure out where I went wrong at. So I can't tell somebody else where they gonna go wrong at. None of that. Understand what I'm saying? I'm trying to figure out where I went wrong at. Because I wasn't brought up like this, man. I'm trying to figure out where I went wrong at.
This is where God wants us to be.
Oh, what's up, baby?
You don't know
God don't want me suffering like this.
In 5 years, you don't know where you're going to be at. You don't know where you're going to be at in 3 years.
Hopefully I'll be still alive.
Always say, man, if you wake up, remember I said this before, if you wake up,
God
you got a chance to make your life better.
There it is.
God is good. All right, man, let's get something straight.